It is our first meeting of the year 2025. And in my capacity as the executive director, I also serve as the chair of the OPAT Commission. So I'll have the opportunity later to kind of tell you who these gentlemen with me are, and what the commission is, and some of the other entities within OPAT. But at this point, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Again, this is the first public meeting of the OPAT Commission of 2025. We are required to have a minimum 4 meetings a year, and we're trying to have these essentially quarterly. So it is now 5:21 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. The first order of business, hopefully the screen is there. We can start the slide. We'll go over some of the agenda items of what we hope to accomplish today. As I said, next, we're going to the introductions of the other commissioners that are present with me. And then I'll take about 20 minutes to go over, essentially reintroduce OPAT to the community for those of you that are present and those online, those hopefully that get to view it on YouTube. To kind of just start there, because in fact, this is my first meeting that I am chairing. These gentlemen with me, they're their first meeting. So we are taking this opportunity to sort of really educate the public about who we are as OPAT and what we do. Okay, so this is something that, this essentially for today, we're going to try to do, because again, it's the first time that we are all here to do. Then we are going to get into some of the business of the commission itself, which includes running through the last meeting minutes. I'll have a brief time as well to provide some reports at the time around data, quarterly data of the past quarter, if you will. And finally, we'll have, which is, I think, the most important part of this meeting, is that this is not a hearing, this is a public meeting. So the public can and should participate by making comments, obviously here present today, and you certainly can submit them online through our email as well. At this point, again, I'd like to briefly, as I mentioned earlier, I'm Evan Cavallo. I have the privilege of being the executive director for the past year now. Next week, I think it'll be a year. May 6th is when I started, 2024. And I'm also the chair of the commission. With me is Tony Fugate, who's the chair of the CRB, Civilian Review Board. And to my right, to my left is Tony, I'm sorry, did I mess that up?
Yeah.
I didn't mess that up. Thank you. Tony Fugate is the chair of the IOP, Internal Affairs Panel. And Sam Harold is the chair of the CRB, which is Civilian Review Board. Again, we're going to go slow here because I want to make sure that you understand the functions of the different boards and what it means for all of us in the city of Boston as we continue to do police accountability and transparency, which is what this office was entitled and purposed to do. And again, I'll get into that conversation a little bit later, but at this point, hopefully their bios are already up, but I'd like to give a quick opportunity to both my colleagues here and partners to introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Tony Fugate. I don't know what my bio says, but I've been an attorney for 45 years. I'm the founding partner of the law firm of Bardwee and Fugate in Lynn, Massachusetts. I live in Boston, and primarily all of my work has been in Boston for a number of years. I do both criminal work and civil work. I've worked in the courts of Roxbury, Dorchester, Suffolk Superior Court, doing criminal and civil work. On the criminal side, I've done everything from motor vehicle infractions to murder cases. I consider myself in semi-retirement right now, so I'm only working about 50 to 60 hours a week, down from about 80 or 90. But glad to be on the board. I think this is incredibly important work. I'm glad to see that there's a turnout today for individuals that are interested in knowing what OPAT is all about. Again, I just began, recently appointed, and I think hopefully in the next couple months, we'll get into the meat of all of this. We've already had one meeting, and again, it's a wonderful opportunity, not only for me, but it's an opportunity for the community to have some real input on what happens in internal affairs issues. So, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be on the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. My name's Sam Harold. I'm a public defender in the Roxbury Youth Advocacy Division. I primarily work with children that are charged with crimes. I've been doing it for about 6 years. Before that, I did district and superior court work. I worked mostly in the Boston Juvenile Court, and I'm also in the training unit at CPCS, which is the Committee for Public Counsel Services. It's the major public defender organization in Massachusetts. So I train new lawyers on best practices on being a defense lawyer, being a defense attorney. I love that work. I am honored to be here. This is a really amazing organization and a great opportunity for community involvement. I think that there hasn't been enough of it, and we're here now to make some real changes, and I'm happy to be here and supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome again to both of you. It's an honor to serve with you in this capacity. And I didn't say this earlier too, but I too, I am an attorney. I'm a former prosecutor. In fact, I prosecuted cases in Roxbury District Court. I was prosecuting guns in the city of Boston, and I had the privilege also to serve as a state representative briefly on Beacon Hill. But enough about me and us. Let's talk a bit about, let's meet some of the rest of the team that are with us today. Next slide, please. And if please, if you can just stand up, if you work for OPAT, you could see their pretty faces on the slide. Deputy Director Esther Lene is here with us. She's a recent hire. We'll talk more about that. And our Chief of Staff, Mao Kundanezar, who is, you're a trooper for being here today. Thank you for being here. Executive Assistant in the back here is Cheyenne Isaac Dorset Veal. I'm sorry, Cheyenne. And our senior intake is Andrew Cherry. Cherry, thank you, sir. Diana Vergara is here as well. She's our investigator. Taisha Marius is intake specialist. She's also here. Our community engagement specialist, Abdullah Beckett, one of our new hires. You saw him at the front. And finally, certainly, Michael Berger, who's a policy and data analyst, is also here. This is the team that, in fact, our office is literally down the street at 2201 Washington Street. They're here to serve you and the people of the city of Boston. All right, so let's talk a little bit about OPAT, okay, and why we were created. What's the purpose of OPAT, right? Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. Next slide, please, if you have it. Thank you. And so we were created in 2020. OPAT was created in 2020, December 2020, to serve as an independent civilian agency to provide oversight over the Boston Police Department. It is, in fact, I'm sure you remember, this was a turmoil time around the country and the world, really. This is when we had COVID-19. And unfortunately, among many, George Floyd was killed by a police officer. And that caused protests and people pushing for reforms across the country. And of course, in the city of Boston, we also were able to move things along, which was then led to the creation of OPAT. And it is, I say creation, it was created by ordinance. It is city law, particularly in chapter 12, section 16 of the city of Boston code. And again, the idea is to provide a single point of entry for individuals with concerns, complaints related to the Boston Police Department and its officers. We primarily investigate complaints, which is what the CRB does, right? Investigating complaints help us with that. And on the other side, we also, the internal affairs help us with review and process of the Boston Police Department internal affairs investigations to make sure that those investigations are thorough and fair. We also can and will do, review proposals and policies and regulations and procedures from the Boston Police Department. Let's, the next slide, please. As I mentioned, I wanted to kind of give you a sense of what we look like. You can see our org chart, if you will, organizational chart. You can see that all of us, particularly all of us here are appointed by the mayor. So we are a city entity, city agency. I was appointed by the mayor again last May. I am the executive director. You could see that on the right side over there, you have the OPAT Commission, which again, that's where we are, the three of us. So the chair of the CRB, along with the chair of IOP, with myself as the executive director, we are the OPAT Commission. And within, under that, there is the, again, as I said, CRB on this side and IOP on the other side. And CRB is a 9-member board of civilians, made up of civilians from the city of Boston. And on the other side, the IOP is 5-member board made of primarily of the legal profession. And we'll get a little bit into details of some of those things that, you know, each board do. I won't go, you know, because I'm trying to sort of not do too long of a presentation, so I'm not going to go into detail in terms of what they all do. But again, the next slide hopefully now shows what the CRB does, right? In fact, you can also see some of the new members that were appointed to the board, as I said, including the chair. There's 9 people in that board, and that board is very diverse to people across the city, different parts of the city, different backgrounds, and then most of them, honestly, were just appointed recently to do the work of the city of Boston. You could see what they do. As I mentioned earlier, CRB, particularly the core role there under section 12-69 is to investigate complaints of the Boston Police Department against the Boston Police Department, against police officers, and make recommendations to the Boston Police Commission about, any appropriate sort of measures to redeem or making sure that officers are held accountable in the city of Boston. That board is also required, like this board, to have public meetings. We meet quarterly. In fact, we just met. When was the meeting? On Tuesday, March 25th. Thank you. We just met last month. I'm thinking we're in May, but we're still in April. So we met last month for the first time this year, at least. And then next slide, please. Go to excuse me. The other board that Tony chairs is, as I mentioned, that board is made of 5 people, primarily from the legal profession, mostly lawyers, to be honest. And their powers also, as I mentioned earlier, includes reviewing internal affairs investigations. So traditionally, as you may know, before OPAT existed, when people had complaints against any members of the Boston Police Department, they only had the option to go to BPD, Boston Police Department Internal Affairs, and file complaints. So now, though, those complaints can still be reviewed by civilians. Again, the IOP board, okay? The main difference, to kind of rewind a little bit historically, is that the CRB now is a new entity that exists where civilians do not have to go to BPD to file a complaint. They can come to OPAT directly, and we investigate those complaints. And as a final note, the CRB board functions more or less as a jury panel, a judge panel. They come in and help us make the final decisions on the cases. The cases are investigated or reviewed by the staff, particularly I mentioned the investigator that we have. We have intake coordinators that take in the complaints. So the work itself goes through the staff, the administration, OPAT administration, if you will, and then gets in front of the board, and then to the public, and to the commission, and to the mayor, and so on. Does that make sense? And the other thing that I want to say here, as I sort of divert from the presentation a little bit, is that all of our reports, the decisions that the boards make are online. This is where the transparency comes in. Everything that we do is designed for the public to consume, just like these meetings that we are having on a quarterly basis. In fact, we have meetings monthly to discuss the cases that we're going through. So this is to make sure that the public understands the work and have a say on what the work is for OPAT. The final space that I wanted to touch upon, again, this is the sort of why we're here today, is the OPAT Commission. As I mentioned earlier, the 3 of us are the commission, and the commission's role is slightly different. It's sort of like the oversight of the entity, if you will, and it creates rules, regulations, and policies around how to conduct investigations. And it's certainly the one thing that I mentioned as that I know is very important to the public is that this commission has the power to subpoena records, subpoena people, just like courts do. So we can essentially send subpoena to someone to attend an interview, to come to a hearing, and so on. So, and as you can see here on that slide, it's a decision of the 2/3 of us, two out of 3 has to agree for subpoena to be issue. And then finally, again, we are also required to have public meetings and do plenty of reporting as well, okay? I think that's where I should stop now, but I'm gonna review my notes to make sure that my report, okay. I think this is, sorry, let me go back to my, I'm having a little technical difficulty following my, so bear with me here, as I find where I'm supposed to be next. I think I'm looking for my, man, what do we call this? This is a runner show? Nothing after my runner show, so I know where next. I apologize for the brief, so I know where we're going next.
The last minutes.
Yes, okay, thank you. So, thank you, Cheyenne. Cheyenne, is very helpful. So, thank you. So the next order of business is now sort of, we're gonna start going into sort of some of the more typical things that we do in this public meeting, which is obviously, again, review the meetings of the last, minutes of the last meeting. And unfortunately, these two gentlemen were not present in the last meeting because we had other people involved. As they both mentioned, they're newly appointed, so they were not there. I was there. I reviewed the notes already, and there's no any corrections needed. So at this point, I'd like to hopefully entertain a motion for for approval of the minutes of May 7th, which is when the last meeting was, May 7th of 2024.
I'll make such a motion at this time.
Thank you. And any second?
And I will second that motion.
Okay, at this point, then we'll approve, again, this is just basics. We're approving the minutes of the last meeting that we had as a commission. So here, it looks like I'm gonna continue to speak, because in this portion of the meeting, and I'll try to be as brief as possible, because I really, again, want to get to the most important part of today's business, which is hearing from the public. I'm gonna give a brief sort of report about essentially the last quarter. What is it that OPAT has been up to as an agency? What is it that each of the boards have been up to the last, particularly again, the last quarter, okay? So on that note, I will now flip. This is a little unhelpful for me because I can't see the slide, so I gotta find it in my binder. So that's the disconnect here for me, so I apologize again, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. All right, so this portion of the slide should say Executive Director's Report. And again, I'll try to spend 5 to 10 minutes here to just kind of give you a summary of where we are and where things are with OPAT in generally, and as well as each of the boards. You will see that the focus, next slide, please. You will see that the title of this slide is Capacity Building, Community Engagement, and Communications, because those are the things that we have been focusing on. Unfortunately for the agency, over the past year, certainly a year and a half to 2 years, there were a lot of senior teams members that left, including the ED, Deputy Director, the Chief of Staff. Many of the staff left. So when I came in last May, part of the focus has been primarily to rebuild capacity. And I know you will see that, as I mentioned earlier, we've hired a significant amount of people, including the Deputy Director, the Chief of Staff, the Policy and Data Analyst. And in fact, we recently hired a community engagement individual, which we did not have before. So we're focusing on building capacity. And in fact, you will see there that we have a couple openings. We are hiring a couple investigators for our team. In fact, that the link just went on yesterday online for people to apply, share with people that you think could be a fit. You can find it at boston.gov/career-center. So the building capacity continues to be a focus. And I will say that hopefully the next week or so, we also are onboarding an administrative assistant a new member of the team as well. So we'll continue to sort of make sure that we have a team that can do the work for the people of the city of Boston. The other thing that I've been focusing on since I started particularly is around community engagement, which is, I think, critical, which is why we're doing these meetings like this one in the community. Next time, we're not gonna do it in this place. We're gonna do it maybe in Dorchester, maybe, maybe in Hyde Park and elsewhere, so we can kind of be available to people throughout the city. Well, key things that I've been able to do in the last several months is have coffee hours. Myself particularly, and some of the team members will go throughout the city. I think we've had 10 plus of them. Every 2 weeks on Friday at 10 a.m. we'll go to a particular part of the city in a coffee shop or library to be available, to have a table, to talk to people about the work that we're doing. In fact, the next one is coming up. It is on May 9th at 10 a.m. In Hyde Park. I'm sure we'll have more details about that later. We also have launched, thanks to the work of our new community engagement individual, Abdullah, we have been doing open doors monthly in our OPAT. As I mentioned, our OPAT is office down the street. And every first Wednesday of the month, we have, a couple hours when people can come in and hear about the work that we're doing, meet some of the team members. And I think on May, next week, I think, May 7th, from 5 to 7, we're gonna have a next open door meetings. And I think we're gonna be focusing, you're gonna meet the investigator and talk about some of the work that she does. We also, thankfully, thanks to the work, particularly of our chief of staff, we ran digital billboards to let people know the work that we're doing in the city of Boston. And you might have seen them on the side of the highway, and some of the T stations. Thank you so much. And we relaunched and launched our social media pages, including OPAT Instagram. We also have Twitter account, which I think we just launched our LinkedIn account as well. So we're just sort of being here, trying to do the best we can to communicate with the people and engage the people of the city of Boston about the work that OPAT does. This portion, I think, in light of sort of, where we are with things, I may not go in depth on this, but a lot of this information, as I said, is on our website. And you can see essentially some of the data about OPAT, right? And you could see that since 2022, for instance, to now, we've taken in 370 complaints in our office. The CRB specifically has heard 58 cases. The IOP has heard 34 cases. You see some of the details about, the findings, including 14 sustained. In some cases, obviously, that were not sustained. And then you can see the next part of the slide at the bottom there, you could see, particularly I wanted to focus on this because this is, since I started more or less in 2020, some of the data, you could see that we increased intakes of complaints, 144 complaints received last year in 2024, and that was the highest since the inception of the agency. And again, you could see some of the numbers around what cases OPAT, the CRB, and IOP also heard. So I won't go into details of some of this because I think the more important thing is for us to get to your comments. So I'll go to the next slide, please. This is the sort of this slide 15 is more what we will do in the future going forward. This is essentially reporting the last quarter, which is obviously January, February, March, what happened at OPAT in terms of complaints. You can see again that we have 14 complaints that we took in the office, and the complaints can be put, people can come in the office and make complaints. They can go online. We have an intake form online. They can call the office. In fact, they can make complaints anonymous as well if they don't want to identify themselves. You will see here that some of the sort of core spaces of where we're seeing essentially what kind of cases we're seeing, okay? We're seeing cases that are, 5 of them were police officers being disrespectful, or allegations of police officers being disrespectful to people. You see 5 neglect of duty, 2 operation of a motor vehicle, 1 abuse of power. And then below that, again, you can kind of see some of the demographics of people that are coming in to file complaints. And here, certainly, the last quarter, you can see that most of the people, more than 50% of the people were Black, African-American, with that being 8, male and female, 7 male, 6 female, 1 declined to answer. You can also see there that we had 8 straight heterosexual people, 2 gay and lesbian people, and so on. And other people, as you saw there, number 4 people also declined to answer those questions. They can be inclined to identify themselves in terms of their sexual orientation as well. And you will see that we had, as I mentioned earlier, we had meetings in March. It was March 25 and March 27th. Actually, it was a big week for the agency. We had 2 meetings, and the CRB heard 5 cases, and the IOP heard 2 cases. Yes, so I kind of rushed through that. I'm happy to sort of slow down and go back. If people wanted to sort of dive into some of the data. All of this is available on our website. We also, obviously, the team is here. I'm here, happy to meet aside and discuss some of this. If folks have some more detailed discussions about what kind of cases we're seeing, you know, what the data suggests, and so on. But I kind of wanted to rush through this because I wanted to get to the best part of the meeting, which is the public comment. But before we do that, I think the one other thing I wanted to sort of bring up here is this other business. Other business just means, next slide, please, Cheyenne, if you haven't. No.
Trying to move this back.
Yeah, maybe that would have been helpful for you. So if
Can we move the whole thing back in? No. That's a good line.
yeah, what if Cheyenne says no, then maybe it's a no.
Yeah, she said no.
She said no, then I try to listen to Cheyenne. What does it say over there now?
Something other business.
Other business, thank you. So here, this is a space for, you know, if there's anything last minute that any of the commissioners thought about that we didn't discuss, excuse me, that we didn't notify the public. As you all know, our meetings are again attended by the public, and we have to notify the public when the meetings are through the city of Boston, particularly the clerk's office. And we usually pick an agenda in terms of what we anticipate doing that day, but there's things that can come up. And typically right now, again, we would have an in-depth discussion. Hopefully the next meeting we'll talk about, you know, some of the regulations that we have, how to amend them, how to improve the regulations. We also have some, you know, some policy work that we're going to be discussing. That's going to go through the CRB particular. So there's a lot of work, important work that we're going to do in the future, particularly in the next meeting. But I wanted to kind of just close at this point, unless again, any of the commissioners have anything that they want to bring up in other business now. If not, we'll go into a public section of this meeting where, again, the focus is to listen. It's a public comment. Obviously, we try our best to answer any questions, but the focus here is to just hear feedback from you all about the work that we're doing and how to improve and what you're seeing in the community around, you know, what BPD is doing and so on. So it's a space where the voice of the public really matters for us to collect that information and improve the work that we're doing. I'm not sure if there's anyone online. There's folks, again, obviously we're on Zoom as well. And I failed to mention, but this meeting is recorded. It's kind of in the end now, at least of my section, but the meeting is recorded. It certainly will be available online for people to view. It'll be on our website. And the minutes of this meeting will also be published online. So there'll be many other ways for you to sort of track what we're doing. But, you know, love to sort of hear thoughts on the work that's happening and the work to be done. We have I put it to the side, but we have a podium here that we can move to the front if people are inclined to come and give thoughts in terms of the work. And but again, there'll be opportunities in the future as well through email, particularly if you want to you know, send us comments as well. And now I'm trying to find the OPAT email. Can anybody help me with the OPAT email?
OPAT.
Thank you. Very simple email, opat@boston.gov, right? So that's a place for you to send comments as well. And we'll try to, you know, obviously, you know, depending on how many people want to comment, you know, we'll give people attitude, but we try to keep comments to 5 minutes if possible, be respectful. Everybody, other than, particularly at the stage here, I'm a full-time employee of the city of Boston, but these gentlemen are volunteers, you know, and so try to be respectful of our time and the people that are doing the work, particularly the team that's doing all the work. And without further ado, I know I introduced them earlier, but I really want to give a shout out to my entire team for the amazing work that you do on a day-to-day basis. This is not an easy job. I was a prosecutor, I was a state rep. I've told people every time they ask me, like, this is not an easy job. The topic is very charged. The issue is very important to the city of Boston. And you know, again, kudos to all of you that signed up and continue to sign up to work for this agency and improve the city of Boston, particularly in the space of police accountability and transparency. So at this point, again, unless there's any questions or notes or anything else from the members of the commission, I'll turn it up to the public for any comments. Happy, obviously you can sign in, you can just come up. I think if we can maybe move this, should we move this forward or is that okay over there? It's kind of like on the side. Yeah, so you can kind of sort of, yeah, it was sort of, yeah, that's fine. Thank you, sir.
Right there is
Yeah,
perfect.
that's perfect. So certainly, please don't. This is an opportunity for, and it's shining. If there's anyone online,
No one online that is raising their hand.
okay. I'm sorry,
A question.
sure. And please tell us your name, if you
Yes.
live in the city of Boston, it's great, and what you
I'm actually
do.
one of the interpreters, but I.
Oh, you are, yes, thank you, thank you. And we do have interpreters.
Yeah, so. Time today. And I live in the city of Boston.
Okay.
Town Boston. My question is surrounding human and sex trafficking and children that go missing.
Mhm.
And I wanted to know in terms of police accountability and how you guys are working towards that with the children that go missing, like how are we holding accountable the investigations? How are we updating the public with the children? Have they disappeared? Have they been found? Is there a place, a website that we can check the children that have been, found or anything to that?
Thank you. Great question. And to be honest, more so, targeted towards BPD. I am familiar with, I think they're called the human trafficking unit that BPD has. I've met some of the detectives and folks in that team. I know this is a priority for the mayor and all of us, right, in the city of Boston in terms of making sure that children are not disappearing. We all see them sometimes on Facebook and we're happy when people, are found. But definitely, important work that's happening. We sort of just serve more, it's not that we can't play a role in the policy around what that looks like, but we're sort of more, behind the scenes of people, right? We're not, the other thing I sort of failed to mention perhaps clearly is that we are independent of the Boston Police. Okay, so we're not the Boston Police Department. That's one thing point of view to understand, right? So we're a civilian entity that's designed to hold accountable the Boston Police Department. Now, for instance, in this case, if you felt that, if you were familiar with some case, right, that BPD did not handle properly, right, for whatever reason, you could file a complaint for us to sort of investigate how they did investigate or not investigate, right? So, but we also can sort of study it and sort of make recommendations how to improve those investigations, how to improve sort of public engagement around human trafficking and things like that. So, but we don't sort of, that question is more so, if you will, targeted towards BPD, I would say. But happy to sort of help you find more information about that if necessary. But I know for sure that they have, I think that the office actually is in Brighton. They have a unit of detectives that are focusing on human trafficking on a day-to-day basis.
That's the Child Advocacy Center.
Thank you.
The Suffolk District Attorney's Office, along with the Boston Police Department, collaborate on it's actually pretty cool. They have like social workers and a lot of like interesting people that like go in and like interview children. And they do really important work. The other thing that I'll say is that like, as somebody, I've worked with a lot of young people who are at risk for this sort of stuff. It's really scary. And I really sympathize with what you're saying. And I think that it's become a big priority in the city. You see it in the news all the time. You see it on Facebook, you see it everywhere. And we welcome, if there's any, I think Avandro's eloquently put it, if you have some issue, please let us know and we'll review it. Absolutely. This is important stuff and it's our children.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I actually work with a nonprofit organization that works with human and sex trafficking. So I was just wondering, because we've had a couple of cases that have come up. So I work interpreting or hosting events, and so I just thought I'd ask and see what's going on. It's Destiny Rescue. And I don't know if you've heard Eyes Open International.
Yep.
Yes.
That's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for that intervention. And to be honest, I failed to do this earlier, but since different topic but related, and unfortunately we lost a young boy in a tragic accident in Hyde Park, 5 years old. And I certainly, I have 3 children myself, and in fact, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and can only imagine the sorrow for the family. So I want to wish them condolences at this time, because that's absolutely, it was, to be honest, I'm still taking it in. So tragic. So, but because you brought up the topic, I figured I'd do it because I think it's important that we talk about those things.
Do I have to go?
You don't have
I'm
to.
nervous, that's why.
But do tell us your name. Do tell us your name.
Okay,
Do tell us your name, please.
I have multiple points if that's.
Okay, please.
My name is Adriana. I'm currently interning at Boston 301. So sometimes I would get calls about complaints about police officers. I don't know what to do. The most that we do is send a report out like to the district, but I don't feel like anything gets handled. So I'm glad that I came here today. And now I get to tell people at Boston 301 about this resource. I was born and raised in Boston, and I'm currently going to Northeastern University. I'm a sociology combined with an anthropology degree. So a couple of points that I wanted to go through. Is Boston, is the police officers in BPS a different entity?
Yes, BPS is the Boston Public Schools, right? Is that what you mean?
No, is the police officers inside the BPS a different company? Because you know how there's police officer stations at Boston Public Schools, is that a different,
No,
that's the same thing?
there's the same, they obviously, and I don't remember all the details of it, but the law substantially changed recently in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
At the state law changed around police within schools, but they are part of the, I believe they're part of Boston.
So if you had a complaint, if like a student had a complaint, say if they call into Boston 301, oh, police officer mistreated me, or I don't feel like, can they still report with you guys as for police accountability?
I'm seeing nods. Oh, is it?
They're Boston police officers.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I just wanted to know because I did grow up in the Boston Public Schools and I did encounter some police officers and I've seen behaviors like growing up, like. Not
Yes, it's
knowing-
the school unit. Yes, it's the Boston Police Department.
Yeah, I was just asking because some, like, you know, there's just procedures that we have to go through, like the metal detectors in some certain schools, and I just wanted to ask regarding that. Cause I know a lot of Boston Public School students at the moment, so like, I just wanna know if this is the type of thing they could come to report if they had a, problem with
Yes.
the officer inside of the Boston Public School.
Yes.
Okay, another point, sorry. Do you guys go out to communities, like not even like as meetings or like just community based, like say if you go out to a neighborhood and just like walk around, like I don't know how to explain it.
We can,
I feel like that's, I don't know, from like a resident point, I feel like that's more beneficial. People may feel like a little bit scared coming into a setting like this, so like.
Right,
going to
right.
Meet them where they at, I feel like that's a.
Abdullah, community engagement, person can talk more about it, but he attends meetings throughout the city. In fact, Newman Square Task Force immediately goes, do walks. I myself participate in peace walks and different things in the community, so, and obviously we're a small team, we
Yeah.
can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
But we are, as I mentioned earlier, the coffee hours, the open doors, we sort of being strategic about places we need to be. In fact, just yesterday, many of us was at the mayor's coffee hours. Like,
Mattapan.
Mattapan,
Yeah.
and BPD will do events, various entities within City Hall will do events and we'll go to those. Particularly, around public safety, right? And those that are focused on the work that we do. But I will say, I mean, one of the thoughts and ideas that I have, particularly as someone who serves as an elected official, is to sort of do those things, be more hands-on in the streets, passing out flyers, which again, we've done here. But we are sort of slowly putting together a robust community engagement, as Abdullah likes to say, that involves, formal spaces like this and within our office, but also informal ways for us to connect with the community. Thank you for your question.
I also have two more, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I have a lot to say. Are you guys looking to go into Boston Public Schools just to teach them about this opportunity? About this department?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
to get youth engagement, because I feel like it's just important to start from the foundations.
I agree 1,000%. I think actually, again, Abdullah went to a school.
Sorry.
Yeah, just keep pointing. He went to a school recently, but we are hoping to have And it's very idea mode right now. It's not, like it's sort of a civic engagement that where we're going to present about OPAT through particularly in BPS schools, in the future. But I've been certainly since in this capacity, I too have been to the schools. But we're not sort of doing it conservative, if you will, like we don't have a plan that gets us in the schools right now. But we're sort of, as I sort of mentioned earlier, we're kind of starting slow to kind of build out and see where the gaps are. But the other thing I should mention, I'm not sure I mentioned all the names of the board members earlier, but we do have a youth delegate, which is a person that's 18 to 21, that's part of the CRB board.
Yes.
And we also have a youth council that's focusing in engaging youth, again, in that age group. Because as you know, those folks are particularly, I was getting coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, the youth is everywhere, right? They're sort of particularly around schools. So we're doing our best to try to engage the youth going forward. So hopefully we'll have your contact. And when we get which we're going to slowly bring it back up the youth council, we can hopefully count on you to help us get some youth involved. And we have interns, which includes one high school intern in the past that we've had, and college interns. So we have certainly a big platform in terms of how to continue to engage them. Thank you.
Sorry. I want to bridge a connection between Boston 301 and you guys. So like if we get like instances and reports and stuff like that, we could send it over to you guys. That makes sense.
Yes.
I had a situation where someone was at Mass and Cass and the police officer was like pushing them away and being rude to them sometimes, of course. And I didn't know what to do with that situation. I felt really bad.
And so we should go talk to the 311 people, right?
Yeah.
I know many know about us, but people obviously
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And our chief of staff actually used to be part of the engagement team for the mayor, and which oversaw 311, so it's very familiar. So we certainly should try to connect with them and tell them about the service that we do.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So
And maybe again, we'll hopefully go through you at this point. Tell me your name again.
Adriana,
Adrian, what's your last name?
Terry Rosario.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have your information?
Huh?
Did you sign in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
At this point, can you introduce yourself briefly, sir?
My name is Reggie Stewart. I'm the Director of Community Relations for District 7. And if we can be of any help to bridge that gap, we'd be very much interested in doing that, especially given that the OPAT office is here at Nubian Square, which is the heart of District 7. So
Thank you, thank you.
that we can be of assistance, call on us, absolutely.
Thank you for, I know I should have given you a shout out earlier. So I figured, if there's anyone else that represents agencies or, go ahead, sir.
Represents what?
Anything. Go ahead, what do you represent? Yes.
So, my name is Jose Gutierrez and I'm a.
You're Gutierrez too, you related?
Yeah.
We are.
No.
Okay, so you're not gonna just say that and keep going.
So I'm engaged, I'm paying attention. I am also one of the Spanish interpreters that is.
You are, okay.
here for the public, if we were needed. But as you were speaking, some light bulbs turned on in my head, and I have a question about language access. I
Yes.
work with the courts as a staff interpreter. I have seen you in Superior Court, not you in the middle, but the other two gentlemen I have
Okay.
seen in Superior.
Yeah, they're real lawyers, I just pretend.
But
Good joke.
my question is about language access with defendants. I have interpreted for many defendants when they speak, in lockup, when they speak to their attorney, saying that the officer didn't say anything, he doesn't speak any Spanish, and they didn't find any Spanish-speaking person for me. As you know, Miranda rights are a very big deal, and
Right.
not only you saying it, but the person understanding it is a very big deal in a criminal case. I have personally heard of occasions where there are complaints about the police, either not addressing Miranda properly, and it's up to the DA to take it to the judge and go down the court's processes.
Mhm.
But do you have any type of language-based complaints in your data set? I saw that you're addressing LGBTQ issues, you're addressing, racial
Good
issues.
point.
But, or at least by the criterion of the people making the reports, but are there any language, based?
Collection of data around language.
Yes.
Okay. Michael, do we collect that information?
You're asking if we've had any complaints, around like police not, interpreting and not communicating any appropriate language?
No, more so if we have data around, language, people's language that come into the office to complaints, more around complaints.
It's actually both, but
Both, okay.
yes.
So, yeah, I'm our policy and data analyst, and I cannot recall, complaints in that regard. So, where there was an interpretation or translation issue with the cops.
Mhm.
If there are, then it's definitely on the lower side, like much lower side.
We don't expect all police officers to speak every language at once, but definitely connect either with another officer that does, or what have you.
Absolutely, no, I mean, this is really important for us to hear, just that this is a real issue that's happening, I don't doubt it.
I mean, it keeps me employed, but I don't want that for our defendants in the city of Boston. And my other question is if, more for, you, sir, with the DA's office, if there are complaints about, you're good.
I'm not.
If there are
yeah,
complaints about language access issues in the booking process throughout the entire process of being a defendant or being formally accused, can that defense attorney speak to you or bring the complaint to you about how the police handle the language issue with their clients?
So I really appreciate this question because I feel like language access is like this burgeoning issue that I feel like a lot of people kind of don't take to heart in the same way, and it's become more and more prescient as politics have changed a little bit. I'm not at the district attorney's office. I'm a public defender.
Oh,
So I represent.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, CPCS, the Committee for Public Counsel Services. So I represent young people. And I have cases that you talk about where a police officer will not provide Miranda in an adequate language or in a way that the people, and I'm sure, Tony, you probably have had similar issues all across.
Hundreds.
And this is, it's a big focus point of our litigation, but what I think, your hope, I think, is to try and get there a little bit earlier. To try to give them that access to that information in a language appropriate and developmentally appropriate way early on.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge issue, but I also, I think that the problem is that I don't think people understand yet that this is something that we could really talk more about and we should be talking more about. And we should be seeing complaints about it. So I appreciate the question and I appreciate you bringing it to this forum, because now I hope like everybody can leave here today understanding that that is something that you can complain about, because the police officers have a duty to explain your rights in a way that they understand and have access to.
If there is a such complaint by a defense attorney, can your office or OPAT receive those types of complaints and compile them in a data set? That's essentially my whole question.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So, thank you.
And as a side note, we, even though it's a small team, we speak several different languages within the office. I was born in Cape Verde Islands. I speak, hablo español un poquito.
I think it's favorite.
Yeah. No, I'm not, but thank you. That's cool. So I speak Portuguese, and Diana, investigators, speaks fluent Spanish. We speak Haitian Creole French. We speak, what do you speak, Abdullah? Thank you. Arabic. We speak, am I missing any language? Okay.
Really quick, we do collect data on, like, people self-report the same with the other demographic information. We ask, the preferred language. And on the intake side, if folks, select a language other than English, we make sure to reach out to translation first or interpretation to get that, so that we can go into it at least, understanding entirely what's going on.
Very good.
Good point, yes. And we offer translation service, obviously, that's today. But I meant to say, obviously, the fact that we also speak and understand beyond the language of saying those cultures, it's also very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, just a quick comment. That really is a great question. One of my specialties in criminal law is motions to suppress, be it drugs and or statements. I've had hundreds and hundreds of cases. And we've been very successful in getting judges to suppress things based upon the fact that they were not given those rights in whatever language they spoke. But it's a good point. I never thought about, even after I win one, whether or not I should have reported it to the Boston Police Department. So that's a great question.
Thank you.
And let's see how that goes, because that is important.
And I think I find it in general, too, that more and more defense attorneys know that we're here. We're starting to get emails from in that court world, if you will, of people knowing that our reports are up. In fact, finding out that officers have been investigated by our office, right? So I think, part of it is to get the word out. In fact, I went and did a presentation with the CPCS, and I intend to go into different courts in the city of Boston to talk to whether it's judges, probation officers, clerks, all members of, if you will, of the judiciary, to make sure that they know we're here as a resource.
Very good. Thank you.
Questions? Unless matters. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions actually. So I understand that there's two main bodies of OPAT in general, it's like the CRB and then IOP.
Correct.
So, I understand there's also like some different dispositions or like decisions that you guys can make with the complaints that you receive. Are they the same for both boards or are they different?
No, they essentially the same, but so this board, the CRB, have those outcomes, which is sustained, unsustained, unfounded, exonerated, and I'm missing one at least, right? So need more information. So there's some, and that's all in the ordinance, which I have my copy over here. It's all in the law. And but so it's all in here actually. So I'll take the time to find it, as I'll tell you. But the other board, the IOP board, really, they are, the key difference is that the IOP board does not do investigation.
Right.
Okay, a review, it
Appellate
serves
board.
as an appellate court, right, appeal. So the case goes through IAD, through BPD. If somebody goes through BPD and file a complaint, and in the end, the BPD found, unsustained, the person now can come to our office within 14 days to file essentially an appeal. Think of it as an appeal of a parking ticket that you get, you want to appeal it, then this body reviews it. They don't do an investigation, but they determine whether they agree with BPD or disagree with BPD determination. Does that make sense? But a lot of the underlying determinations are the same. Does that make sense? So it's BPD then that made a determination that it was unfounded or that it was exonerated or unsustained and so on, right? Not the CRB. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right, so, but the IOP board, doesn't do, they just review essentially the file of what the BPD Internal Affairs, department did on the case and determine we agree or not, do we disagree, and, go back and do more. We can ask for more. This is not thorough, this is not fair.
Exactly.
Do more on this particular case. And we write reports and send those back to the commissioner of BPD for execution. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So with someone who has, like say somebody who has a complaint that's active with you guys,
Yes.
what kind of like communication do you have with those people, or like what kind of things do they know, like in the process or after the fact, after this is?
So, obviously it's specific to the case each time, but the basic ones are, we get a complaint and hopefully it's through, the person comes in or to a website, we have information, so you contact that individual and learn intake. Complaint, that is an intake, it's not a complaint, so it just comes in information, right? So then we try to meet with you or whoever the complainant is, right, the witness, and find out what happened, right? So there'll be an interview of the person, right? And at the same time, they're collecting information from the Boston Police Department about, if it's an arrest, if the officer showed up in the scene and has body cameras, all these different things, right, to find out what happened. So, but in terms of contact, that first point of contact that should happen is when the person files a complaint. Intake usually, and their intake actually is the first person that you touch. To kind of hear what happened, and then the investigator also follows up with you to learn more about, any further details, or if there's any videos that you may have, photos and things like that to investigate. And then, again, at the same time, trying to get information about BPD or going to the scene, to find out what happened. And, hopefully in those spaces still can give you check-ins in terms of what's going on. And finally, when the case is sort of, in its fruition, right, and it's towards the end, then now comes before the board, they let you know, via email or call when, this case is coming before the board on March 25th, and you have an opportunity to come in and talk to the board. And after that, the final touch should be his decision, is what the board determined by your case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess my question is, what exactly are, like, what decisions are made? What exactly are people, I guess, privy to know about how the decision process is made?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the key things about our apparatus, operations, are that ultimately the report of the investigator, particularly, right, and what the board voted on is uploaded online. Like the reports and actually communicated to the commission, to the mayor's office, to the council. So it's a public report.
So, but is there any sort of like direct communication with the complainant and the body itself? I mean,
The body itself?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got distracted because, did you want to say something?
No, it depends, right? So there is.
And this is Esther Linnaeus. Can you introduce yourself again, please?
But sometimes depending on the situation, if there's further information or further things that he's gonna be able to follow up with it while we're what Monica said is that as we look, the transparency that is for the public. But I think what they're considering is the lot of communication with the right? And even after the project is done, we're looking at the report, like, we're trying to figure out if this person not paying, like, what happens there. So I mean, and so, like I said, it all depends, because sometimes the person has more resources that we need to look into, or there might be, intentional things with the case, and sometimes we have complaints that come for more than one case.
Esther, can I ask you to come to the front and speak? Because I know this you could be a Zoom, it's recorded, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is almost like a side conversation, so it's fine.
But there is ongoing communication that's happening with the complainant, at the point.
Once there like any sort of appeals process or anything like that?
There isn't. I think though that this body, as in the OPAT Commission, that'll be something that we'll wrestle with. In terms of determining whether, like right now, there is no way to appeal beyond the decision of the CRB, right? And the ordinance, unfortunately, is also silent on that. But the ordinance does provide a sort of the overall oversight of the agency to the commission. And one of the things that I talked about earlier was creating regulations, right? So this is something, and I don't know what's gonna turn out, if anything in that space, but we're gonna be debating that topic about, is there an appeal process beyond, what should it be, and if not, why, right? But the ordinance is not clear, not clear, silent, in terms of like the appeal, because the case is essentially decided by the CRP, notified to the commissioner, and the commissioner makes the final decision. It's there, right? That's what the unfortunately the setup of the office right now. But we will, amongst other things, including hopefully do subpoena officers and witnesses. And documents and things like that. So there's a gap in terms of sort of regulations that we're gonna try to fill. We have a few pages of regulations, but there's a lot of topics like this one that we need to debate to see how to best improve the operation of the office as a whole. And that's where this entity does. Thank you again for your comment. Tell me your name again, sir.
My name is Sam.
Sam, what's your last name?
Liz.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. And you, sir?
Yes, my name is, Justice Williams. I am, currently one of two community relations specialists working with the mayor's office of LGBTQ.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Plus advancement. The mayor's office of LGBTQ, advancement, we, develop policies, we do programming with the community, and I think what's really important here in this particular situation is that we partner
Yes.
with, other departments, in creating events. We also do training on how to engage with our community.
Okay.
We're currently working with, Superintendent, Deputy Superintendent Dayhill.
Yes, I know Daniel very well.
Working very closely with him on how in a city of belonging can we keep our community safe. And when I think about that, I think about how we exist beyond the intersections of our lives. And what do I mean by that is that we're isolated in one unique identity, and we don't see the connectedness in the ways that somehow thinking about the relationships that we've had with the police in the past, myself as a Black man of trans identity. So being a Black man, my relationship with the police in the past, as well as my queerness, right? So what we've done is we've been training, right now we're working with the police cadets.
Awesome.
We've trained the community police officers, but I feel like there's more training and conversation that we need to do. And I also feel like there's more partnering that we need to do with each other, because we can't shift the current narrative without each other.
I agree. Sure.
And so I wanna make that offer to connect with you. We have a What is a Hate Crime event. We meet every month talking about what are the issues, the safety issues that our community is having. We talk about the relationships that has been happening with the challenges that we've been having with the police officers. And I think the answer is trying to figure out ways to build better connections.
I agree.
And to me, just like this young lady said, I hope I'm getting your pronouns correct. That you need to meet people where they're at, right? So I'm inviting you to come to us.
Thank you for that comment. And we've talked about partnering with other city agencies. And particularly, some of the core, I guess, constituents that we serve that are mostly impacted by police encounters. We talk about the youth, or we just mentioned Black men. Somebody mentioned earlier, immigrant population, obviously right now, right? It's a big deal. Certainly the LGBT plus community is an important part of that sort of subset of communities that we need to focus on. And partnering with agencies like yours, we're critical to make sure that we do exactly what you're saying, which is having conversations, teaching police how to treat individuals that they don't see every day, right? That are scared to deal with the police, right? That are dealing with real issues. And sometimes they call the police for something, particularly with language barrier, they end up getting arrested, right? We see that stuff there because police, there may be language barriers. So those departments like yours, in Moya, in fact, we just had a meeting with Moya, which is Office of Immigrant Advancement, Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement, to try to do exactly that. to make sure, Black Men Advancement, we talked to them, which is another mayor's office that exists within City Hall. So I appreciate you being here. I'm glad that you'll be here. We're looking forward to building it. I'll build it, here with this guy.
I have one question. When's the meeting? When's the meeting? What, May?
What is a hate crime? That's gonna be more of a community education. And that's May 8th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's gonna be at City Hall on the 8th floor, one on the 801.
And did you sign in?
Yeah.
Okay, I insist on people signing in. If you haven't signed in, please sign in. You can be in touch, be updated about these meetings and other things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tell me your name again, sir.
Justin.
I heard that. That was cool. Justice.
I do have one final question, and I admit it is a little direct and hard-hitting. Well, two. The first one's easy, the second one's a little heavier. Can attorneys file complaints on behalf of complainants?
Yes, anyone can, witnesses, if you just see something, you're driving by, we get a lot of those. Obviously, attorney or non-attorney, anyone can file a complaint. Obviously, the closer you are to the situation and witness it, the better, right? And as I mentioned earlier, we increasingly, as of late, have had more attorneys reach out to our office with different things, so they can certainly file a complaint.
Okay, and my second question is, to what end? I think it's wonderful to have police accountability and transparency. I have seen and worked with other cities, Chelsea, Revere, other cities that have been starting to work with transparency with their police departments, Lawrence as well. But what are the end goals of compiling these complaints? Is it to change police culture? Is it to fire these repeat offenders with the data to prove it? Is it to kind of shift education at the police academy level? Like, what are your bullet point list, if you will, of your outcome, your expected outcomes? I'm not asking what you did yet, because I know you guys just started, so I'm not gonna ask what has been done. But what perspectives do you have for your outcomes?
So the data that we collect, right? In fact, I didn't mention this earlier, but the CRB board just voted to have a subcommittee on policy. One of the roles that they play is to make recommendations to BPD, particularly the commission, about how to improve policing, whether it's, again, accountability related, rule related, policy related, and so on. So the data that we collect is intended, one, first and foremost, for public consumption. So we know a lot of this data, to be honest, in the past we didn't have, right? But number two is for us to analyze it, for us to figure out, use that data to make those recommendations, right? In terms of the cases that we're seeing, right? Hopefully that answers your question.
It does. So you want to change policy or a subcommittee has been created in order to use the data that you're compiling for policy change. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
And I think that, just sort of building off of Andre's point, is that, we don't know, a lot, right? Because this is the big part of this project is to try and get that transparency. And so building that subcommittee is one small part of what we are hoping to do. And the reason we wanted to do that was because we were seeing things time and time again, and we're like, okay, there's some changes that have to happen, and we want to recommend those changes. So I think part of what we're going to do is we're going to get that information and use that information to figure out what the best way to do it within the scope of our powers. So we are an executive agency or a mayor's office. We work for the city of Boston, so we only have, there's a limited, I guess, view on what we can do. But I think that there are hopefully some great things that we can do once we get more information. That was helpful.
It was.
Just have one more question. In the past, what level of cooperation would you guys, or what level of cooperation have you gotten from the BPD once, after decisions are made and you guys make your recommendations and everything?
Great question. Great question. I think, it's a work in progress. I think, I certainly, since I came on, I'm seeing increased cooperation. We've had difficulties, unfortunately, with police officers coming to the meetings, to hearings or being interviewed. This is where, again, some of the fix is just about having them subpoenaed.
Right.
Which we're gonna build the apparatus to get that done, right? So some of it, I think, is built power that we have that, and tools, not power, but perhaps tools that we haven't used, so we're gonna be using those. But I also think, with the new commissioner that we have, that's a couple, 3 years, 2-3 years there too. He's trying his best to sort of get ahead of things. I meet with him regularly. We meet with the particularly Internal Affairs Division cases, so I think the level, if I may say, sort of honestly, the level of cooperation is increasing. But there's been challenges, particularly because there was lack, as I mentioned earlier. The office was sort of, the senior leadership of the office wasn't there for a bit, right? So, and the one lens that I use to kind of wrap up, hopefully answer your question, is that we are the office that's to do the accountability and transparency. We provide oversight, right? And I think like often, people think, they should just give us this or give us that, cooperate this way. We have to force those issues. We have to be at the table. We have to put we have to subpoena. We have to be here pushing the conversation. And that's what this office is designed to do. And an agency like BPD, believe the first, if not one of the first in the country, centuries function one way, right? So within a few years, you create an agency to provide oversight. There's got to be a shift of culture. There's got to be, an intentionality about getting more done. And I think currently, certainly from my team and from the BPD's team, I'm seeing it, but we got to do more on our side to push them.
I'd only add to that the subpoena power that this board has is incredibly important. For a long time, yes, there are things that go on, but you don't get a real answer. But now with the subpoena power, we're able to bring these officers in. They're able to do an investigation, follow up on those type of things. But it's huge to be able to get these investigations, to be able to bring these officers in and have discussions is really crucial.
That's a follow-up question about the subpoenas. How that decision made, like by the board, something I'm assuming is obviously different from like the state or something like that, or the decision to make that kind of decisions.
You mean how does the decision made as to
If the board were
as to who we're going to subpoena or what? What happens at the meetings? We make a determination whether or not we think there's more investigation that needs to be done, or we want to look at that investigation a lot closer. I can tell you just at the past meeting, there were questions about whether we needed some more information. Came to the conclusion we did not need it. But again, we read through these reports, we discuss these, and we decide, this looks a little thin. This wasn't done correctly. But to be able to bring that information in through subpoena and then make a final determination is important. And something that will in fact exist.
Thank you. We have, it's 6:30 now, and we do have food. I appreciate the discussion, a robust discussion that we've had. Thank you for all of you that came. Those of you online, again, information will be available. The video of the call of this meeting will be available online. Office is literally down the street. You can email us, or send us even mail at 2201 Washington Street, 02119 in Roxbury. We're down the street. You can email OPAT at boston.gov, I think is the email, very easy. And, look forward for us to have, particularly having the new commission on board. And the other thing too, I think I mentioned earlier, we didn't have permission for a while because we didn't have the chairs that we needed to sort of do something that we need to do. But we are almost at full capacity. We're up and running. We expect to be doing a lot of great work for the city of Boston. And looking forward to having the community as a partner, certainly the mayor and her team, and certainly BPD, the commissioner and his team, as we move forward together as the city of Boston to figure out how do we want to continue to improve the Boston Police Department and how we police our residents. And at this point, if there's no further comments, I'll take a motion perhaps to adjourn unless there's a final comment from my colleagues here on the commission. I'll take a motion for adjournment and we'll adjourn. We'll have some food and we'll come back next time. Thank
I
you
make a
again.
motion to adjourn at this time.
Thank you. And
I can
Interesting
second
enough.
that motion.
thank you.
Thank you.
And this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.